where Major League Baseball, along with Joe Biden, Stacey Abrams, they have struck out yet again, completely embarrassed themselves. And because of Joe Biden leading these lies, the MLB is now moving the All-Star game from Atlanta, Georgia, to Denver, Colorado, a state with, get this, just for irony, similar, but in truth, more restrictive voting laws than the law just passed in the state of Georgia, for example.
All right. So this is Sean getting very upset about the MLB moving the All-Star game from, why does he, from black Atlanta to white Denver? I've never heard people refer to those cities that way. But yeah. And I guess this is an effort to say, like, look how hypocritical they are. Those poor black people in Atlanta really need that All-Star game, and they're moving it to white Denver, snowflake Denver, right? And I think what they're missing is that Georgia law, and I did a whole live stream about this, breaking down that bill and going into great detail, 5 reasons why the Georgia voting law is a piece of junk. And I go through all of the specific changes. So I think when these Hannity and sort of like Radical MAGA get so fired up, they're like, oh, look, they're moving it from black Atlanta to white Denver. They don't know what they're doing. No, it's actually quite consistent. The MLB is saying when you pass laws that are anti-democratic, and, you know, I thought the Republican Party and the MAGA people love America, and they love our veterans who fought for the right to vote. But then when a state restricts that right to vote, and it's not about election security. If you watch my video, you'll know they have 1 ballot box maximum per 100,000 active registered voters. They're not allowed to open past 7 p.m. unless they have a judge's order, and past 9 p.m. under like any circumstances. The Republican state legislature can replace precinct superintendents for any reason at any time. I mean, it's some BS. You can only vote during the week between 9 and 5, or on certain weekends, like the 1st and 2nd Saturday of the month, but not the 4th. It's like some random, it's just completely anti-democratic. And you look at these MAGA rallies, and they love showing the American flag, and they play like, I'm proud to be an American, but I don't want you to vote. Like, what is that about? So that's some bullshit. Sorry, I'm getting a little fired up. Get a little fired up. Let's see what else, Sean. Maybe he'll make some reasonable points.
Example, Georgia has 17 days of in-person early voting, including 2 optional Sundays to vote. Colorado.
Oh, so now he's making the case that, oh, look, why would the MLB move from Georgia to Colorado when Georgia, even though it has restricted voting, in some cases is not as restricted as Colorado? The reason is that the Colorado legislature didn't just pass a law moving in the wrong direction, and the Georgia legislature did. Okay? That's why. So, like, if someone steals a bunch of stuff from a store, and then you're like, well, but someone else stole more, that's not how it works. If it's wrong, it's wrong. You guys should know, MAGA. You're law and order. You're pro-America. Why are you anti-democracy? But now he's probably going to make a point like, oh, look, let's focus our efforts on where the MLB All-Stars game moved from Georgia to Colorado. Let's show that Colorado is more restrictive, and therefore any criticism of Georgia is now somehow neutralized. So Georgia gets a free pass to try and suppress democracy because the MLB picked Colorado to move their game to. Is that what you're going to say, Sean?
They only have 15. Both states allow no excuse vote by mail. And, oh, do you know Colorado also has a voter ID requirement? just like Georgia. So what message is Major League Baseball?
Just like Georgia. Okay, Georgia's voting law is not just about the voter ID. Okay, you make it sound like, oh, if you like the Georgia voter law, you know, it's just about voter ID. We know from those of us who took the time to read the darn thing, it's also about writing your driver's license or your last 4 digits of your social security number on the back of the outer envelope. It's also about not allowing people to vote after hours during the weekdays. You can only vote between 9 and 5, which kind of sucks if you're an hourly worker and you're a single mom or you're taking care of kids. It also says you can only have 1 ballot box per 100,000 active registered voters, and that you can only vote on certain Saturdays and Sundays. And you could also, you can't request for an application for a mail-in ballot too early or too late. There's a ton of just terrible anti-American, disgraceful, anti-democracy stuff in that Georgia voting law. And Sean Hannity is making it sound like it's just about voter ID, and he is lying.
Baseball sending to Fulton and Cobb counties in Georgia and the good people of Georgia. Joe Biden, Stacey Abrams, Major League Baseball, Delta, Coca-Cola, they all lied about Georgia's election laws, and that has now cost the people of Georgia almost 100.
They did not lie. Go read the law yourself. So if anybody has MAGA friends are like, oh, it's just about, requiring ID, isn't that great? Go check out my video. I walk through 4 or 5 examples of why it's not just about requiring ID. And this whole narrative that like, oh, all it is I'm not going to watch this guy anymore. He's pissing me off. He's making me very angry. And I can see here that my resting heart rate has increased. So I'm going to take a little break because Sean Hannity, he is one of the most watched news opinion people in America. And I have family members that watch his show. And Sean Hannity is a really expert at manipulating facts and getting people to believe that, oh, these Democrats are so crazy. They just want open borders and they don't want to work. And it's like, no, man, there's a middle ground here. And that Georgia law is a complete disgrace. How is it that in the greatest democracy on the face of this planet, we are passing laws saying, oh, you can vote kind of, but we're going to make it really hard for you to do so? I mean, why isn't voting day a national holiday? And why can't you? I mean, the IRS, you can pay your taxes early, months and months and months early, right? The IRS doesn't say like, well, you need to sign the outer envelope a certain way, but you can't drop it off here. You can only mail it to us, between this date and this date, and we won't accept early payments. Well, that's what mail-in ballots allow you to do. You can vote early. You can make sure your voice is heard. And that, oh, you can't hold a precinct open late even if there's a long line of people. Like, what is that bull? It's so disgusting. And it's why even though Trump is no longer president, this country can't agree on anything. Like, you look at the all of these like random shootings and mass killings, like they're not going to do anything because it's always about, oh, Second Amendment is sacrosanct, and what part of you shall not infringe don't you understand? Well, let me ask you something, you radical MAGA. What part of a well-regulated militia don't you understand? And so you cannot say the Second Amendment is unlimited, but but then have limits on other amendments, like freedom of speech. There's limits on that. And Second Amendment, are you saying like shall not be infringed, meaning like I can get a 50 caliber sniper rifle and a 50 caliber machine gun and put it on top of my SUV, and I'm down with that? Like, come on, man. This is ridiculous. And we're going to give some shout outs to our members starting at the highest level, at the VP level. And if you're watching now and you're not a member and you want to join, please do. I will definitely give you an extra shout out. But let's start with our oldest VPs. Been supporting the channel for over a year. VLAM, JMSAP, Fat Lamb, Kristen Slevin, Soldier One. And then also, thank you to our other VPs, Laura Lane, Patrick Dunn, Bike, and Mindful Skeptics. And then next, we're going to add the, I believe it is the Hardcore Nerds, the next level down. Also, we have Mike, Gene, David, Tracy, DK, all members for over a year. Thank you. And then we have our other hardcore, Phoenix, Jekalego, Kirsch, Miss Your History, Byron, Mona, Susan, Yang, Tony, Robert, Dean, Stat, Jalessa, J. Perrin, Annalise, J. Bryan, Vivian, Dana, and Flavio. And I should let you guys know that all of this money goes to support the channel. In fact, I just had to hook up the nerdsforhumanity.com email that I use now to reach out to potential guests, because I figured it was more professional looking than sending them something from my Gmail. But of course, when you set up a domain-specific email like tom@nerdsforhumanity.com, that does require costs. So all of these members make some of this stuff possible. And then at our entry-level nerds, our verified nerds, we want to thank Helen, Lisa, Sugar, Albert, Brandon, Yes, Brian, Peter, Arez, Your Mammon, Sophia, Jedwiga, Gail, Shake and Make, Mike CK, Doris, Emerald, all over a year as members. And then also thanks to Nell, Lori, Ben, Roger, Lisa, Christina, Vaughn, Rasta, Richard, Jessica, James, Jalopy, Emma, Spirited, Hui, Stephen, Ira, Shoni, Philip, Jameson, Doctor, William, Karen, Monica, Alex, Ardent, Mai, Semery, David, Ender, Brittany, Clyde, Wanna See More, and Sasha. And our freshest members overall, our newest nerds, are Flavio Lira and Sasha Alexander, all less than 1 month old.
Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah. Yang Gang 2020.